Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for coming back. This is the second of 3 days of the startup competition, and today is going to be all about IoT, Internet of Things. I have not five, but six amazing panelists who are going to be here today to help do a quick panel discussion, followed by the startup competition itself. So first up, I'd like to introduce Ayelet from Blonde 2.0. Put your hands together, please. Thank you. Second up is Alex from FundersClub. Chrys from Notion Capital. You leaving? Diptendu from Singtel. Nimrod from partner HFN. Sorry, I get that right. And Siraj from Atomico. Thank you for that. No, I don't have a seat. Anyway, cool. Guys, I'd like you just to introduce yourselves, maybe spend a couple of minutes and explain a little bit of background in why IoT is of interest to you.
So my name is Ayelet Noff. I'm the founder and co-CEO of a boutique PR firm called Blonde 2.0. We're headquartered in Tel Aviv, Israel. We have an office in Boston as well, and soon in London. And we work with technology companies, small and large. So we work with Microsoft and HP and Applied Materials. And we work with startups like Viber and StoreDot and Yo. And we help them to tell their story. And many of the startups that I work with are also in the IoT space. A lot of them actually are doing crowdfunding campaigns. And I think there's a lot of innovation there and interesting stuff that we're going to be talking about in the panel today.
Hey, I'm Alex Mittal, co-founder and CEO of FundersClub. FundersClub was the first online VC firm, or sort of what venture capital would look like if you applied networks of people and a software platform to the business. It's been about 3.5 years, and we've funded about 170 businesses headquartered in about 17 countries, which have gone on to raise about $1 billion of capital. And we are very interested in the IoT space. We've invested in about 24 companies in varying levels, mostly on actually the hardware side, which I think might be interesting later to talk about. So looking forward to hearing from the startups.
Hi everyone, my name is Chrysanthou, Chrys for short. I'm with Notion Capital, a B2B focused fund, pan-European fund, primarily Series A, but we do a lot of seed and Series B rounds as well. And I have a long, extensive career in the industry, starting from Cisco for about 10 years, a little bit of engineering, and then more M&A, focusing on IoT the last couple of years, so I know a little bit about IoT from there. Then spent some time with an IoT startup as a COO as well, and then moved on to AWS for a couple of years. In the last 2 years, I've been trying to figure out what venture is and providing a different value to startups. So that's me.
Hello, thank you. First of all, thank you for having me on the panel. My name is Diptendu Mitra. I'm here all the way from Asia. I work for Singtel. I work for Singtel Innovate, which is the venture capital arm of Singtel. For people who may not know who Singtel is, we are actually one of the largest operators in Asia. We operate in about 6 countries, and we have access to mobile customers, approximately about 500 million across our footprint. Innovate, which is an arm of Singtel, is, as I said, the VC arm. But we are a little bit more than a VC. We always look for investments which are of strategic value to Singtel Group. But we also, at the same time, look for partnerships with startups which we may or may not invest in. So we run large startup outreach programs There's one of them is actually running right now. There's something called Innovate Connect that we are running right now. So if anybody is interested in working with a telco and looking to the Asia market, I would strongly encourage you to look at our website and see if there's something of interest for you. Thank you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. I'm Nimrod Kozlovski, and I'm very passionate about IoT in the two hats that I'm wearing. I'm a partner with Israel's largest VC called Jerusalem Venture Partners, and actually co-leading our early stage investment together with my partners. And we have two labs, one which is devoted to cybersecurity, IoT, and big data, and the other devoted to enterprise software and new media. And we believe that IoT is actually the next revolution, machine to machine, and the industrial internet, actually the wave of innovation awaiting, and we are very excited to sort more startups and more innovative core technologies in this domain. On my other hat, I'm a partner with Israeli international law firm called HFN, and actually we have a special practice which is tech and regulation. We're looking at disruptive sectors of tech which require a different regulatory or legal approach, and we believe that the Internet of Things requires a lot of fresh legal thoughts as it introduces challenges both in privacy, security, control, governance, and also in kind of like how we do a lot of current regulation that applies to human-to-machine interfaces when it's a machine-to-machine interface.
Hi, so I'm Siraj Khaliq. I'm a computer scientist, entrepreneur, and most recently VC. My company, which we founded in 2006 in San Francisco, was bringing technology to agriculture. So we started off with a novel financial product and built from there. And we ended up building a platform for farmers to manage their crops. And as part of that, one of the things we started looking into and working on was sensors in the field to detect any number of signals to help you, put the right inputs into your crop. So, this was before IoT was a buzzword. This was, 2-3 years ago now. That's the background on that. Now I'm a VC. Just as of 2 months ago, I joined Atomico, which is a firm that very much is focused on founder-led funding, but focused on big ideas. And when it comes to big ideas, I think IoT is one of the biggest there is. Since 20 years ago when I first started university, there's this concept of ubiquitous computing that everybody's talking about. And it's been this hot thing for 20 years and it almost became passé to talk about it. But for a number of really great reasons, now is the time. We're calling it IoT. It's ubiquitous computing. Really excited to be part of this discussion, and I'm sure we're going to see some great companies today.
Cool. So I'm going to start with a general question for everybody, but I'm aware that having a single question answered by 6 people can, from an audience perspective, get a little bit boring. So I'm going to, after that, probably ask a question and then ask individuals to respond in terms of 1 or 2 people. So at its simple and its broadest level, how do you see the differences, given your backgrounds, between traditional startups and startups which are in IoT? Do you want to start?
Absolutely. So IoT, first of all, it's a very broad term. So I think you've got to think about within IoT, what are you thinking about? And IoT often has some kind of physical component to it, a hardware device of some kind, but not always, There are plenty of interesting companies working in the nexus of, let's assume you've got a lot of devices. How do you manage them all, configure them all? How do you create rules, or do you use some kind of machine learning approach? So, the answer to your question, I think, comes from, where you are in the space. If you're on the hardware side, clearly, there's a lot of R&D costs, a lot of work that goes into it, a lot of, you can't just hack an app over the weekend and put it on, the App Store. App Store won't approve it that quickly, but yeah, you get the point. You have to work at it, but that can be a tremendous advantage as well. If you're in the software space, then you could argue the barriers are a little lower, but then you have some tremendous challenges where standards are being formed, and you may be in the wrong place, the wrong time. So it varies, but I think as a startup, you can still do a pretty good job of it with focus.
Cool. Chris, do you want to jump in?
Yeah, I think IoT is a very much overused term, just like big data is. So bucketing startups in the IoT space is a very interesting concept. So overall, it's a market that's still early in its hype cycle, is still evolving. So breaking it down, you can find different subsectors, like for example, manufacturing, logistics, or some of the, and parking randomly, are some of the sectors that have earlier adoption. So companies building products or launching products in sectors that have earlier adoption and better education from the overall market find it easier. Companies that are a little bit, that need to spend a lot of time doing education and will take longer, obviously, to take off. So it's part of finding the right entrepreneur with the right mindset, the right investor with the right patience and the right pockets to go through that journey. But
I think for too long we were in love with the concept of the lean startup, or the idea that you can just do incremental innovation at the edges and just connect to the network that would carry whatever application or minor improvement you did to a process. I think IoT introduces a challenge where building a company can probably not work in this model of just having a small team doing incremental innovation. Since you have both to connect with the physical element, you have to have connection to sensing capabilities, big data, monitoring, some analytical layers which would introduce some benefit to this connectivity. We believe that the teams should include people that understand the hardware, the sensing, the monitoring, the data, the software layer, certainly people that understand the usage of the consumer at the end. That require larger teams, normally larger spending. And also, if you prove to be successful, normally would require much more investment on the scaling than just the application that I so much agree, just putting on the App Store and hoping that will be successful wouldn't work as a model here.
I would say, just to add to what has already been said, is for any entrepreneurs in the audience, if you're thinking about starting an IoT startup, maybe don't do that. Think about starting a company that solves a problem, right? And so just sort of addressing the question, I think VCs, people in the tech industry, we have a tendency to bucket the world cleanly into these different groups and then discuss them, but the reality is it's going to come down to, is there a burning pain point that you're addressing? Is this solution that maybe coincidentally happens to entail IoT the best solution to that? Is this market really big, et cetera? So that's all that I would add there.
So from my perspective, actually, from a PR perspective, it's actually interesting because most of the startups that I've worked with in the IoT space have been crowdfunding campaigns. I'm not sure if that's because VCs tend to invest less in IoT, but I've found that most of them have been going the crowdfunding route, a lot in the home automation space. So we've worked with Sensible, which I'm sure Nimrod knows from Israel, which makes a smart AC.
Okay, finally, I think most of the points have been made. So I think what I want to do is flip the question a little bit. So say that, yes, there are many IoT companies seeking funding at the same time, but what I would like to highlight is that for anybody who is going to provide funding to these companies, use a lens which is a little bit different from what you would use for a software company. And therefore, it's more about investors trying to understand what a hardware company, an IoT hardware company, typically requires, needs, and how its business model works before making a decision on whether to invest or not. So I think it's actually a good lesson for anybody who's investing in hardware companies to sort of keep in mind when faced with any IoT solution.
So there's a disproportionate amount of investors on the seats here, and hardware or startups which have a hardware component are notoriously difficult to raise money against. What are the tips or advice that you would give to someone who is standing in a booth outside and trying to sell hardware alongside a service or a product? How do you get funding rather than necessarily investment? It could be the same thing.
I think you need to figure out who your right investors are. It's a process. So investing in hardware versus software is not something that every fund is structured. And again, it depends which hardware we're talking about. If it's consumer hardware, it's different. If it's enterprise hardware, longer cycles, a lot more capital and things like that. But let's take a big bucket. Let's assume broad. Funds, just like clean tech or pharmaceutical or health tech have different cycles and different investors, partners within the firms that understand those markets. So lesson number one to me is identify the funds that actually get it, the partners in the funds that actually get it, not just the funds, and then go directly target them.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that. I would also say that for me personally, I think the biggest thing is about the business model. So in a hardware, let's say intensive business, work out how you're going to manage your cash flow, because you don't really have, your business will not scale as quickly as a software business. So you need to figure out how you will manage the cash flow from whoever's manufacturing it for you, and how you will make your ends meet by the time your actual product is ready to ship in the market. If you have an answer to that, then I think you paint a more convincing story to your investor beyond just your product being, what you say is the best in the market.
So, as I said before, most of the companies we worked with in the IoT space have been crowdfunding campaigns, and I think that one of the reasons for that is because there is a need to see whether there's a market validation for such a product first. So many venture capitalists would tell the IoT companies, go and try to raise the money through crowdfunding to see if the market really needs it. And if they see that they are successful, then they will invest.
I certainly agree with Ayelet that as an investor, when we see the hype with the crowdfunding, even if we're not interested in the funding they raise, we're interested in the market validation by the end consumers. However, I think that people tend to think that IoT companies are primarily hardware companies. The truth of the matter is that most of the projects we see from IoT are software projects. They're not hardware projects. We see kind of like generic hardware at the edges. We do see sensors that are being now distributed sensors. And we are inspired by a project like the one that actually you ran, that understanding how by having these distributed sensors with the hardware that is capable actually to host the sensor and to do the computation required at the edges, we'll be able to accumulate enough data to make some difference actually at the way that we manage the physical space. So agriculture is a great example. Certainly lifestyle and well-being is another example, or the home or the city. Most of the time, we don't see actually the innovation in the hardware, the generic platforms. We see the innovation in those either creating sensing capabilities, which we haven't seen yet, creating better monitoring platforms, like real-time monitoring platforms with algorithms on top, or actually the big data predictors to make a difference in the space. The real disruption is not coming from the hardware yet. It's coming from actually the software, the big data, and the prediction layers on top. And that's what we are exciting. Most of our investments actually would be in software. And normally we'll try to see that the people who want to make the difference not just have the hype, but also the real understanding of the actual implementation environment of their device.
Sure. Part of, so I actually agree with some of what was just said by the other panelists there. One of our theses around IoT and hardware-enabled connected devices is a lot of the defensibility comes from the software, from the connected layer. And as an entrepreneur, if you're thinking about building defensibility into your model, you really want to think of how can you use the connectedness part. It's not just about the hardware, it's about the fact that it is connected to build defensibility for the long term, which often means network effects, but it could be something else, or data perhaps. Secondly, I actually do agree with Chrys as well. I think that, I know that having founded a hardware company and having realized that timelines are extended, capital needs are often extended compared to initial expectations, having the right partners is critical. And hardware is very hard. You want to make sure you have the right team, and you don't want to approach it naively assuming that, I heard that the cost of running a company has come down, and that there's rapid prototyping for circuits and tooling costs have come down. The reality is it's still very hard to design, ship, and sell a physical product when compared to pure software. And so I would just emphasize that. Lastly, and sorry to be speaking for so long, but lastly, just as advice to an entrepreneur as well, hardware especially, I think demonstrating product market fit, early product market fit, and that could mean different things depending on if you're targeting an enterprise customer or if you're targeting a consumer. But that demonstration becomes extremely important because most investors, and this is assuming you want to raise capital to grow, don't want to fund a pure science project or an idea, they want to know that with these capital needs, there's a real customer there.
Siraj?
Yep. So yeah, good points from everyone here. Definitely echo the same thing that, a hardware company is almost a misnomer. It's maybe you could say at most a hardware first company, but there has to be a proper software strategy behind it. And that's not least, as a user interface, but there's a lot of elements like virality and, how you can get the software to enable the adoption of the hardware that you really got to think about. So yeah, I think the first piece of advice would be, think about your software strategy, even if you think you're a hardware first company. And then secondly, again, some of what we talked about is think longer term. If there's a significant hardware component, you will need to raise probably considerably more money. So look for partners that can do that. And I'm lucky Atomico is one of the funds that is big enough that you don't have to go to Silicon Valley. We can write the big checks right here in Europe. So that's certainly one of the things that I would encourage is start talking to people who have the capital earlier. And some of the earlier stage VCs are tremendously helpful in getting those conversations going as well. But don't wait until the last minute, because you will probably need the money sooner than other startups that are more bootstrapped and leaner and don't have these kind of costs.
So I'm being rubbish at moderating this because you're all too smart and have smart answers. So one last question, so spend a little bit of time and energy thinking about this. So rather than saying what are the things that people have to be aware of that will cause a business to fail in IoT, what are the things which are actually positive? What are the things that someone who's an entrepreneur that's dealing in IoT could do to improve the chances of them being successful? Because it is a very complex area by the different elements associated therewith.
I have the conch, so I'll take this first. Obviously, there's the flip side. There's a silver lining to the difficulty of getting started. There's an inherent competitive advantage there. You have this moat. So if you've built something by assembling a crack team of people that have worked for a while to build your device, that's much harder for somebody else to come in and replicate. So that's an advantage. Also, I think it's less competitive because it's just harder to do. There's more domain expertise needed sometimes. So if you've hired the top 3 people in the world for low-powered sensors, those people aren't easy to replicate. So you've got an inherent competitive advantage over other people. And this is where we're starting to see actually some really interesting stuff going on, is these crack teams that are working in stealth mode on something that's really cool, on kind of almost too good to be true. And you go in there and you say, wow, you guys have actually locked up this talent, and we like what you're doing because it's that much harder for anybody else to copy what you're doing. So yeah, we're going to see some of these things coming out soon. I'm sure you guys also have encountered some of this.
Yep.
Oh, sure. So Ayelet was talking about how a lot of the companies she's seen in the IoT space are often executing rewards-based crowdfunding campaigns, so Kickstarter, Indiegogo, that kind of thing. So for the subset of entrepreneurs who are opting to pursue those paths to pre-sell, I would just urge to recognize that a successful campaign is not the same as a rewards-based campaign. It's certainly validation that consumers like the idea of what you're doing and the vision of what you're doing, but it's a little different from the reality that may end up being delivered to them. And so understanding the delta between what have you pitched to them in concept versus the reality of what you're delivering all throughout the process, and always having a direct finger on the pulse of the consumer is very, very important. We've seen companies that had very successful campaigns on the pre-sale side, and then later stumbling when it came down time to delivering. So it's something definitely to think about.
Cool. Nimrod.
I think that for IoT companies, we see in every domain that IoT actually started that a handful of competitors doing exactly the same. So for every niche that started, like from the wearables to the connected home to connecting each device, you see kind of like a handful of competitors, and many times they didn't have a competitive edge. I think the first thing to define for yourself, what is your core competitive edge that is going to last? I think great team certainly is a competitive edge, but also if in a particular domain you know that you have kind of like an advantage based on your algorithm. based on the data set that you have that can actually do better correlation or better prediction. You have a better sensor for this particular environment. Another thing I think, thinking of a startup, many startups fell in love with the concept of being a platform. They want to be the platform that everybody connects to. Most of the time we say, it's totally unrealistic to think you are a startup, you'll be the platform that all the IoT devices would connect to. Or you're assuming that you'll set the standard yourself. That's not realistic from a startup. So startups need to take a realistic disruption that they are going to demonstrate, and based on that they can scale. If you're trying to have a broad vision that normally is taken by the big companies, it's very likely that either you would not be funded, or if funded, you'll find yourself in competition with the giants that is almost impossible for a startup.
So I'm going to talk about it from the PR perspective. It's very important when you're doing IoT to have a prototype so that reporters can actually, test your device and see how it works, because no respectable reporter will ever write about your product unless they can actually test it and see that it actually works. So having units that you can actually send to reporters is super important. And also another important element is too many times, especially with crowdfunding campaigns, I hear about people who back a certain campaign and then they never actually get the device. So it's really important also to be very honest with your backers and to make sure that you have a timeline of exactly when you're going to be shipping those units.
Okay, so I think from our point of view, I think what I would say is that I agree that a startup has to be realistic. If I look at where IoT solutions will go into, if I look at my company or companies of the size of where I come from, I don't think we will deploy an IoT platform that comes from a startup. I think we can deploy a solution that comes from a startup which works on a platform from a bigger vendor. So what I would suggest startups is find a way to work with the big vendors who are providing the platforms. We are already seeing some of that in this conference, actually. And I'm sure there are many other opportunities out there. So find a platform, build your solutions that work with that platform. And then you have a bigger chance of penetrating a bigger, let's say, enterprise account.
Cool. And maybe lastly, just to build on what Siraj is saying, when you're looking at early stage investments, the only two things you really can look at are the team and the market. And IoT, in my view, has a lot of massive markets which investors really care about that need massive disruption at the same time. So take agriculture, for example, or manufacturing, or logistics, or whatever it might be. These are massive markets that if you're early in the game, you spend a lot of time deconstructing them and understanding who the key players are, what the key trigger points are to start playing with. I think you build not just talent, but knowledge about the market and about the vendors and the relationships with the big guys and the small guys, that it's harder for other people. You build thought leadership, which is looked after, and it's harder for other people to start penetrating, because products can't be replicated up to a certain point.
Cool. Thank you very much. Cool. Like to put your hands together for the panel. That was amazing. Shift back. Okay, so this is where the guys now earn their supper, or whatever the expression is. And I'm just looking to make sure we have a startup. Otherwise, it's going to be really dull listening to me talk for too long. So first up is a startup called 3.14, and it's ASF. Come up. Well done.
Oh. Didn't give me a clicker. Clicker, please. Sorry.
It's our fault, not his.
These guys are working very hard. Let's give them a hand.
Isn't there some irony that the whole thing grinds to the halt?
Well, it's cool. While we're waiting on
Hold on a sec.
I can
With a piece of
show
hardware.
you guys what's going on so you guys
Cool.
don't get
We're
bored.
off. Thank you very much.
Cool. All right. Sweet. Sweet. Hi, I'm Asaf, and I'm the co-founder of 3.14. We're based in South Korea. Coding is a vitally important skill for kids to learn. And some leading voices have called coding literacy the new key to economic success. President Obama talked about in his last State of the Union address that we should be offering every student the hands-on computer science and math classes that make them job ready on day one. But in the US, only 1 in 4 schools offer computer programming classes. And there are many reasons why this may be. But with KamiBot, we want to get rid of all those excuses. KamiBot makes programming fun and relatable to kids. Kids can dress KamiBot with papercraft characters that they've made by themselves. And you can control it from your smartphone or tablet. And once your kid has fallen in love with KamiBot, they can start programming it with Scratch or Arduino. This allows them to send them KamiBot on complex missions. KamiBot gets kids to learn programming while they're having fun. Now, unlike other programming robots out there, KamiBot is different. And the thing is, KamiBot's physical appearance is constantly evolving with the tastes of its users. So one day it's Marvel's Iron Man, the next day it's some other character. And the fact that it's built around Arduino technology, the platform, makes it compatible with both Scratch and Arduino. So it caters to a wide range of people who are interested in learning programming. Now, the edtech market in the US alone is worth $8.4 billion. And we will be selling to consumers. And this is a great opportunity for merchandising brands and characters. People will be able to buy new papercraft characters as we create them. And we're also collaborating with educators in Korean schools to create a supplementary curriculum for KamiBot. We've already started testing KamiBot in after-school workshops with kids in Korea, and they love it. We've started licensing characters from Korean animated series, and we're also looking for new partnerships outside of Korea to license characters. We have strategic partnership with Interlink, who is opening up strategic channels in Japan for distribution. And our relationship with Red Rock Reports give us a channel into the US education market. We will also be selling on Amazon and our website. KamiBot has come a long way, and it wouldn't have been possible without a dedicated and passionate team behind it, and an advisor who also happens to be a Silicon Valley Engineering Hall of Famer. We're asking for $1 million in funding, and we've already made steps towards that goal. We've been on Kickstarter for 8 days now, and we've already raised, that's like this morning, so it's going to be different if you check now. But I believe we're at 18,000. And if you believe, like we do, that coding, programming should be fun and interactive for kids, we'd love for you to join us on this exciting journey. Thank you.
Thank you. So we have a couple of minutes worth of questions. Who would like to jump in first?
Hi, thank you. Thank you. So if I understand right, this is to enable kids to learn how to program.
Right,
Typically, in many countries, people would be a little bit older when they learn how to program, right? So how does this scale if the audience is a little bit older?
I'm sorry.
If the audience is a little bit older, let's say
Yes.
not kids, can
Yeah.
they use your
Oh,
product
definitely.
and learn to program?
The age range for this is quite wide. We cater from 8 to 8-year-olds to high schoolers, 17-year-olds. So, like I said earlier, you can program it with both Scratch and Arduino.
I certainly understand the competitive edge in having more platforms compatible with this, but is there also a competitive advantage for the company in terms of what is the coding skill or programming skill the kid would acquire, or is it just the standard kind of like coding skills he would get from all other competitors.
I'm sorry, I'm just getting
I'm trying
hearing a
to
lot of echoing,
understand.
so I can't.
I'm trying to understand what is the coding skill or programming skill a kid would get from your platform, which is different than all other competitors.
Right.
Not just by the fact that it works on other systems.
Right. So to program KamiBot, you don't even have to know anything about programming. We're going to provide the curriculum for free online. So you know nothing, come in, we'll sit you down with KamiBot on the curriculum, and you can start from step 1, start programming at scratch, and then we'll move you on towards Arduino, which uses C, C++, right?
Cool. So first of all, you validate my point that most IoT stuff is crowdfunding. So who do you see as your target audience? Because obviously this is for kids, but then are you targeting the parents?
Yes. Okay. We're definitely targeting the parents because they're the ones with the money and they're definitely buying it for their kids.
Trying to evaluate your distribution strategy with schools and such, what's the price point that you can deliver this at?
Retail, we're going to be selling at $130. But if you go on Kickstarter, you can get it for $89. So get on that.
Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you.
So next up is Philip from Antelope.
This should have
achieve your goals.
music.
No matter if you're an ambitious athlete or just someone who wants to keep in shape. Introducing the revolutionary Antelope series. Exercise smart. You have full control over what your workout is about. Antelope utilizes state-of-the-art electromuscle stimulation technology, which forces muscle contraction using electrical impulses. This safe and well-proven method exactly mimics natural muscle contraction. But as the stimulus occurs directly on the muscle, it activates a much higher percentage of the muscle fibers than through normal exercising. Simply attach the electronic control unit onto the side and control the system comfortably through our fully synchronized Antelope.
Hi, my name is Philip from Antelope. I'm one of the founders and CEO. We live in a fantastic time. In a couple of years, we will spend 250 billion a year on fitness alone. Right now, you can measure and record almost any data our body produces. But at the same time, we will spend 5 trillion on preventable disease, mainly caused by overweight and a not so active lifestyle. There is a technology to tackle this. It's called electromuscle stimulation. Electrodes are placed on the muscles and they force your muscles to contract, and you work against that resistance. That's a very effective way to work out. It has no stress on the joints. It's very good. It's a proven technology. But the systems right now, which are out there, they either cost above 10,000 euros or they just simply don't work. So everybody who produces them right now comes from the last century, pretty much. What we did is we defined or described our perfect product and set out to build that from scratch. That is the Antelope series. It's a whole range of products ranging from calf guards to calf guards and wing to a whole suit, and you can integrate it into any sport. It's safe and easy to use. We make sure by our app and a virtual coach. Of course, we love our product, but everybody does. So we set out and tested this via Indiegogo, which ran at $900,000 US. So the price point is right. People are out there, not only professional sport guys, but like you, who have a hard-working life, respect the time with their family, but still want to keep in shape. That are our customers. We now are looking for funding to really build on our fantastic team, which you can see after we reach the goal of Indiegogo. And so we're looking for $5 million in order to really do the international rollout, invest in sustainable sales and marketing, expand the team. The reason why we do this is everybody wants to be sexy, stay in shape, be fit. So if you're ready to unlock your potential, we are. Thank you.
Thank you. Who'd like to jump in?
So, first of all, it's a crowded space that you're entering, obviously, with Fitbit and many other products. Where do you see yourself? What are your unique selling points as opposed to the other products out there?
So everybody else is pretty much measuring what you do, which is a lot less complex than really activating it and integrating the electrodes into the textile on a much bigger percentage of the fabric. So the price point starts with our smallest product at $300. That's for the calf guards and a small booster, which operates for up to 2 muscle groups. That size. It will last you, 12 hours. And then, of course, you can upgrade to the whole bodysuit.
Just like a basic product question, I went over my head. Does the suit add resistance to your muscles? Is that what you're saying? Or is it measuring your muscle movements?
It's not measuring anything. It will activate your muscles.
Okay.
So you get like your brain works, that will lead to a contraction of the muscles. And what we do is we go through the skin and force your muscles to contract, and then you work against that.
Sort of a dual question. One, can you walk us a little bit through the unit economics, cost versus how much margin you're going to make, obviously, at those price points? And second, you didn't mention anything about sales until now.
Sales until now are only via Indiegogo, so $900,000 on this morning.
Okay.
And the operating margin will be around 25%, and the margin on the product around 50%, in order to include somebody else. What we're really looking for is to expand into healthcare. You could use this technology to activate muscles from people who don't have the nerves anymore, who are disabled. And so I could record how you walk and play this to somebody and make them walk again. We're right now working on doing this for bicycling, cycle riding for wheelchair inhabitants. But the next step will be something like this. So there's really a lot of potential and better margins.
Is there any gamification or kind of virality you can build into this? Given that you don't have sensors in there right now, I mean, how do you then turn this into something that you can continue to motivate people with?
There is. At the moment, we're focusing really on making you fitter and getting to the potential of your body. But you could do this for force feedback with gaming. So if you fight against Bruce Lee, and you will really feel how you get hit. Or you 5 or 6 could do a joint session virtually. And everybody is in their own room, but you see each other and go up against each other. So there's plenty of room for stuff like this.
Cool. Thank you, Philip.
Thank you.
No iPads. Cool. And so third up is from Brain Gaze, Laszlo.
Good afternoon, everybody. We see mental health as a key tech opportunity. A few years ago, we were probably one of the few, but increasingly it's become like a mainstream thing that mental health care is due for using technology the way many other sectors have done it for years. Let's see. So Google hired last year a mental health expert, and this guy is joining their life sciences team because also Google thinks life sciences and healthcare is ready to use tech like us. So getting back to smaller companies like BrainGaze, we do mind tracking technology, and that means that we measure cognitive processes in the brain in an easy and objective way. And mental health care professionals are a bit left out. If you look in a hospital, there's a lot of gear there that can help you to diagnose. Mental health professionals got it rough. They got EEG, but if you want to really get good results, it's not easy. It's kind of cumbersome, fidgety. And we know there's stuff out there which is really smooth and easy to use, but you don't get a very reliable signal and you don't get very reliable data. So EEG is nice in the lab, but it's not very nice in the hospital for this kind of diagnostics. The other thing that psychiatrists and psychologists have is rating scales. So if you want to do an ADHD diagnosis, you rate if a kid is fidgety or squirms in their seat. Score from 1 to 4. Try to imagine that being really objective. It's not. And then, of course, they talk a lot to their patients. They get subjective input on what is the matter with somebody, ruling out some kind of causes for certain things that they can measure. But basically, it's a rather subjective affair. And what we discovered, BrainGaze discovered, is that there's a very small eye movement that occurs very rapidly that you can capture with an eye tracker, and that directly reflects cognitive processing. It kind of is a thing that happens when you change your cognitive attention, the attention of your brain. Not where you look, but where your brain is looking. And we've taken that and we've built that into a platform that allows you to do diagnostic testing of basically cognitive disorders, mental health disorders that are frequent, like ADHD, dyslexia, autism, that kind of thing. We use the eye tracker, we present the video game, and basically we analyze the data to classify between people that suffer from a certain disorder to those that don't. For each of the application areas that we have, we collaborate with leaders in that particular area. Leaders in ADHD, leaders in autism. Basically in any area, we have specific people with whom we collaborate to do the clinical validation, to make sure that what we develop is meaningful for the medical professional. First one out the gate, the first application we're doing is ADHD child diagnosis. So that test is now being validated, it has been validated. Regulatory compliance is in place for Europe, and basically we're ready to start selling, as of next month, let's say. The way this works is that we install the platform in a clinic or at a private practice of a professional, and basically they take the data, pump it up to our server, and we give them a PDF with a personalized report that they basically sell to the patient. So that's not so scalable in every single site. You do need to sell the sites. But once you have a lot of sites out there, these people are starting to generate reports, and as we have a pay-per-test business model, each report is charged at about 50 euros per test, and that then allows us to scale more rapidly than linear once we get a certain park of clinical sites in place. Then, of course, we can start adding to the ADHD test dyslexia, autism, and others to further increase the turnover per site. Basically, we're now raising a seed round, and that's also the basic purpose why we're here, trying to allow us to get this commercial launch of the first product really done right. I guess that's the last slide, so open to questions. Thanks very much.
You mentioned recurring business. Can you explain that more? Because I would assume if you're diagnosed or not diagnosed with ADHD, it's sort of a one-time thing, or do people need to consistently be going in to get tested?
Yeah, basically, so we sell the hardware platform at a minimal cost. We don't make any margin there. We can also lease it out to a clinic at $170 a month. And then our margin is created when they actually start using it and doing tests. So the normal model that also competitors that only measure symptoms rather than measuring really neurobiological data, what they use is a very simple model there. You upload the data, you analyze it, and then the clinic can download the report. And then basically the clinic pays per report and normally kind of triples the price. So if we get 50 euros a test, they sell it for 150. That's a model that, let's say, some of our competitors have shown that works. And of course, you can optimize the pricing, but roughly that's the idea.
Okay. If I understood this right, so the accuracy of your analysis depends on the data that's in the database, right?
Basically, we train our algorithms on a training set. At the moment, we got 92% accuracy. We could, like, step by step, you can upgrade. You cannot upgrade continuously because it's a regulatory approval, medical approval. You can't just go on changing the algorithm constantly. But you can do that, let's say, once a year but you have to inform FDA or European competence to actually get that authorized. But it will get better in time, yes.
Real quick one, because we're out of time. Is long-term the platform going to need to require the hardware components, or can you move it more and more into hardware and the actual algorithms and the tests? Can it move to mobile? Can it be done at home? Do you need to install a hardware platform?
I'm very grateful for that question, because also you might think, what do these guys do here? It's Internet of Things, after all. We do see possibility, let's say 4 years from now, it should be something you can do with a front-looking camera on a mobile. Today, we need an eye tracker to get it right. There's some people out there who try to make it work today without the eye tracker. We're not very confident of the accuracy you can get today, and we want to start selling tomorrow. So that's why we basically go for the two-phased approach. First the clinics, and then the masses.
Cool. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Cheers.
Thank you.
And next up, I'd like to introduce Christos from Citicrop.
The clicker. Hello from years from now. Hello, judges. I'm Chrys. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Citicrop. Citicrop is the easiest way to grow healthiest and freshest plants. It is a fact that the global urbanization will grow in the next years. That means there will be used more pesticides and fresh water than ever before, whereas the food transportation will have a negative impact in the greenhouse effect. What any one of us had a device where you can eat fresh organic vegetables, save time, water, and money, and what if we were in a community where you can share your experience of growing? Citicrop is an intelligent indoor garden based on hydroponic methods and works in combination with a Citicrop app. It lets you grow veggies 3 times faster with 60% less fertilizer and up to 98% less water than traditional agriculture. You can grow from a large variety of leafy greens, herbs, microgreens, and even berries, and you can have up to 200 grams production per day. We target on a smart kitchen appliance, which has a market size of $694 million in the US alone. In 2020, it is expected to reach $10 billion with a 29% growth rate per year. Our company makes revenues from 2 ways. First, selling the Citicrop device, and second, from refill supplies, such as seeds and nutrients, and with 24/7 on-demand expert advice from hydroponics Citicrop's experts via a monthly subscription. Citicrop positioned as an affordable hydroponic product because of 3 main factors: the technology, the available produce, and the competitive price. Our competitive advantage, first of all, Citicrop, it's modular. You can expand your system with connecting more devices together. We optimize the management of nutrition. Also, learning algorithms can learn the heating habits of the inhabitants of the home and adjust accordingly every day. We collect and analyze data from every Citicrop device to improve the performance of cultivation. Last but not least, we provide with different trays for cultivation. Our team consists of 5 ambitious people with at least 6 years of experience. It's our honor to have Mr. Adonis Koutouradis as our mentor. We're supported by recognized companies, and we are singing for an investment of $80,000 dollars to help us to go to the market faster. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Cool. Who would like to jump in first?
I'll go first because I did some stuff in ag.
Hello.
So I like this. This is capturing, a current meme, and people are going towards growing their own food and organic and everything. But almost $600 is still, going to put this beyond the reach of most people, right? What do you see as your mass market strategy?
I don't hear you.
Are you going to do something about the initial cost in order to go more mass market?
The cost of 600 euros. It's about the production we have the device. You can have about 6 or 5 kilos every month organic food. It's,
Okay,
it's
but
not,
it narrows your market, so it might be something you want to think about as interesting ways of financing so you don't have this initial cost.
Yes.
Cool. Anybody else?
I'm trying to understand, you gave some statistics about efficiency, kind of like...
Yes, we have made this test, and we have 3 times faster production with 60% less fertilizer. And
I'm trying to understand what makes, I understand that you control the environment and you have the growers and probably fertilizers, but what makes the growing be faster, more efficient, more productive in this platform than just growing it in the regular, the normal way? Why would any of this would improve actually the production? I understand that you're saying that we go urban, we rather grow it in home. I understand the trend, but I don't understand why you would improve in any other metrics.
I don't understand you.
I'm trying to understand what is this statistical improvement is based upon, kind of like what the reasons.
I believe people buy this device, maybe.
Why does it work?
What?
Why does it work is the question.
Why does it work, the device? Device is very easy. We plug, it's a plug-and-play device. We put the seed, and automatically the device makes the right microclimate for this plant.
Okay, let's call it a day there. Cool, thank you very much.
Okay.
Christos. And next up is Mario from Clean Bean.
Hello, good afternoon, evening, I don't know, I didn't watch the time pass. Any given time or today, you know or have been in a situation that you enter in an hospital with some kind of trouble and you came out with another kind of problem, hospital-acquired infection. To put this in perspective, in the United States and European Union alone, each year dies 120,000 people each year, accounting for a cost of $60 billion. Well, this is not just a problem, because a life, it's priceless. You cannot account costs with lives. In the European Union, you have 25 million extra bed days in hospitals alone. To put this in a context, only 5% of healthcare workers proceed with hand hygiene. 34% of all healthcare-acquired infections are due to miscompliance with hand hygiene. If you have been to an hospital, you have 15% chance of getting an infection, 40% if you're in the UCI unit. This is a problem, because nowadays, the only way that people can track this kind of situation is auditing. And auditing happens 3 times a year, 4 times a year. You have a nurse, you have an auxiliary that sits down in a corner, it has a checklist, and okay, he's complying, he's not complying. So let's make a report. And myself as the decision maker, I have to rely on reports and react to them. Well, this is a problem, this creates a need. The need is to have a comprehensive solution that monitors, measures, and reports hand hygiene compliance in healthcare environments, and also allows to have a possibility to rate the results of the hospital live. What we propose is a solution composed of 3 models: a model that monitors, a model that collects data and displays it in a comprehensive way, and a ranking system that allows society and the community to access this information in an aggregated level. The outcome we expect to lower 30% of every healthcare acquired infection, to reduce direct and indirect costs for hospitals, patients, and insurers, and to add transparency to hospital hygiene behavior and compliance. Above all, to save lives. In terms of monitoring, we are talking about ID tag, an RFID tag, and sensors that are scattered all around every equipment inside of the healthcare unit that is related to the so-called hand hygiene opportunity. We are talking about faucets, towel dispensers, alcoholic gel dispensers. Everywhere where you have the hand hygiene opportunity, it triggers a procedure check. If you go and you don't do it, it reports to the compliance system and allows to everybody to have a notion that the compliance is being or not done, and give the decision makers the possibility of actively have a behavior change in a given ward or a given class of healthcare workers, be given doctors, nurses, or auxiliaries. The ranking system will engage all participating hospitals to transmit the compliance information. We'll engage a positive competition between them to help them to have a better practice in hand hygiene and also to save lives, to enhance their own reputation. There are 4 beneficiaries here: patients, hospitals, insurers, and society. The patients because, yeah, they don't die. The hospitals because they reduce bad days, because they reduce costs, they enhance reputation, and they don't have the auditing costs. They are having information in real time. Insurance reduce risk costs and premiums. They can even choose their partners based on the ranking system, okay? And society, welfare, costs, fewer collateral patients dying, fewer disease, more productive population. Our business model is a recurrent revenue model where we charge per tag, €1 per month per user, with a collective analytic system ranging between 500 and 1,000 euros, and a global ranking system free of charge for the community. We have a prototype done in a control environment. We have now 3 pilots ready to go, 1 in 2 to 3 weeks' time in a hospital near Lisbon, and afterwards, let's go. We are a team of 3, co-founders, of course, with complementary bases in technical management and sales, and we are ready to engage in this. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
So I think compliance is a very, very good message overall that you're plugging into, but I didn't understand how you enforce compliance with the RFID. I mean, how do you track whether they actually wash their hands? You can put the RFID, but...
Yeah, we put the RFID on your tag if you are an healthcare worker. You have your normal badge and you have an ID tag, and every equipment has a sensor that engages. You flag it, 1 or 0, if you open or close it, and it acts a beacon that reads your number.
Yeah, proximity doesn't necessarily mean you actually wash your hands, though.
But it detects the time that you have the faucets open, unless you want to watch water for 3 minutes running.
Okay.
Cool. Look, you overran, so you had only one question.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Cheers. We're trying to keep this moving. Cool. And so next up is Stephanie from Comfy Light.
Hello, everyone. My name is Stephanie, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of Comfy Light. 3 years ago, our team found that most homes are still unprotected against burglary, although 9 out of 10 people do not feel secure about their home. That's a huge gap. But why is that with all the technology out in the market? The problem with current in-home security systems is they are not very user-friendly. They are often pretty complicated to install and use. They are often expensive with all the subscription fees on top. And most strikingly, they only detect burglary when it's anyway too late. But they miss to prevent burglary. And therefore, they do not really contribute to a better peace of mind. And that's why we have created Comfy Light. Comfy Light is the first in-home security system which comes as a smart and sensor-enhanced light bulb plus a smartphone application. This way, it's super easy to install. It just fits in every home, and it combines the prevention and detection of burglary in one device, and it keeps you in full control of your place. How this works? ComfiLight detects burglary. So whenever ComfiLight senses unexpected presence at your place, it would send you an alert to your smartphone, and it empowers you to take immediate action. And it allows you to check on your application that everything is okay at your home, no uninvited guests are at your place. And ComfiLight is preventative. It prevents burglary as it is a always learning light bulb. So it registers your movement behavior while you're at home. It switches the lights on and off just as you need it, fully automatic, which is super comfortable. And it continues simulating your presence pattern while you're not at home. So your home always seems occupied as normal. Would-be intruders are prevented in a super simple and super effective way, and you just feel safe. And all this is possible because we integrate the Internet of Things technologies right inside the light bulb. So core is a motion sensor and a learning algorithm. And compared to adjacent solutions, ComfiLight is indeed the only security system which combines burglar prevention, detection, and control in one single device. And it never relies on intimate, private camera data from your home. And this is actually the basis for a lot more interesting use cases, for example, some which involves neighbors. Our business model is straightforward. We sell a hardware with a certain margin, and the software is completely free in all core functions, and additional optional premium features are planned in future. We have been working on ComfiLight for more than 3 years now, first as PhD students, and in this time we have won prize money, more than 200,000 euro. And we also had an successful first field test last year in Switzerland with a very encouraging feedback. We won the CES Innovation Award earlier this year in Las Vegas, and just on Sunday we completed our Kickstarter campaign and we were fully funded in only 7 hours. We are now looking forward to launch ComfiLight in late spring, and this is the great team working on ComfiLight to realize this. So if you like ComfiLight, we are able to accept pre-orders via our website. And for the investors in the room, we have opened up our second financing round. And we will use the investment of the second round for 3 things. We develop further verticals based on ComfiLight as a platform. We will work on a cost-cut version. And of course, we have to finance our market push. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Not to bias the judges, but I was one of those Kickstarter supporters. Who would like to ask the first question?
So I'm curious how this works if you have a pet at home.
We can distinguish a dog from human behavior. So we have actually an office dog which is helping us to develop this feature. We do it now on a very rough level, but with a second financing round, we have more resources available to do it even more distinguished, which is actually then a USP.
Anybody else?
As I understand, each such bulb is for one room, is that right?
It depends how big your rooms are. So we have a radius of 5 meters per bulb. So it depends, but we say it's normally 1 per bulb, and you would start with the lobby and the living room, for example. And if you like ComfiLight or find it useful, you can add more whenever you want. It's a modular system.
But in a sense, it's very similar to putting IP cameras in my home with the relevant algorithms for traction of movement or traction of behavior. In what sense is that different? There are many IP solution cameras for security. In what sense is that different?
I mean, one important difference is that it does not include private camera data. Given that all data are in a cloud, you may want to avoid camera data from your home in the cloud.
So privacy is the main competitive edge? So it's privacy that differentiates?
Privacy is one thing, and of course, you never could combine prevention and detection in one device if you work with a camera-based system. I think this is the elegance of our solution, that it's the presence simulation on the one hand and also the detection on the other hand.
Cool. Thank you very much. Cheers.
Thank you.
Cool. Thank you. We have 3 more to go, so your patience is welcome. Next up is Thorsten from High Park.
Smart data for smart cities. The next few minutes, I will talk to you about our revolutionary platform, and that is providing smart data for smart cities. So far, when you ask people what is making a smart city, and you talk to the IT guys, then what is the answer from them? Put sensors. Put sensors everywhere where you need to get information. And we heard about it before, even in the panel, we're talking about IoT sensors. But how many of these sensors do we need to put? What kind of sensors do we need to put? And where are we going to put them? The picture that you see here is a city in Spain. It's called Santander. They have about 12,000 electronic sensors deployed throughout the whole city. Now, deploying this amount of sensors will cost you money, will cost you time. So the question here is, at that point, how can we do that differently? Now, we found a way of doing that differently. We're in a situation to provide you with the whole picture of data throughout the city. Now, I'm looking in the audience and I see questions. How do these guys do that? So there are 2 main aspects to answer this question. The first one is, I just talked to you that we provide you with the whole picture throughout the city. And that's what we are doing. We are taking videos, pictures, we are analyzing them, and we are providing you with the information which is inside these pictures. And the second one is, when you look at this picture here, you see that the sensors that you have there are static. So what we are going to do, we are going to make the sensor a movable sensor. So now I see even more questions here. Look at the pictures. You see road conditions, you see street lights, you see public transportations. These are information, these are pictures that contain information that could have been taken by the same sensor, by something which you have on your mobile phone, which is it's just a video, the camera that you have in any case with you, or what we've heard also here in Barcelona, the connected cars with the connected cameras that are starting from 2018 getting into the market. So now I guess everyone is a bit more complex and says, okay, that sounds very nice, but now my video is coming. So what you see here is a test drive that we did in Hanover in Germany. The camera is just put on the windshield and is identifying on the right side the parking spaces that are there. The first decision on providing the information is done on the device itself. We are analyzing while you are driving. The driver doesn't have to do anything. He just has to enjoy, drive the car, put the camera, and keep going. We are analyzing the videos. We are looking for the parking space. And at that point, we are going to mark the parking spaces that are available. But, as you've seen before, we can do more than that. We are not only looking at parking spaces, we can look at street lights, we can count people. And that's the differentiation to the sensors that you heard about before. The majority of the sensors can do 1 task or 2 tasks at a time. We can do, using the camera, using our platform, using our technology in the camera, in the smartphone, in the connected cars, we can do 1 to many. We can identify with the algorithm that is flexible to program parking spaces, street lights, we can count people on the sidewalk, and there are many more use cases that we can cover with the same technology, with the same platform. So basically what we are doing, we are providing you with the data for the smart cities in an affordable, in a costable price, because you don't need to deploy the sensors, you don't need to install the sensors, to run the sensors, to maintain the sensors. This is a sensor that everyone has. And the second thing is that if you want to install sensors, 12,000, or to give you some other numbers, I'm from Tel Aviv. We have about 100,000 parking spaces on the street. Tel Aviv will not put 100,000 sensors for parking on the street. Munich in Germany has about 70,000 parking spaces on the street. They will not do it. So the cities are looking for solutions like our solution that is able to give you information about parking spaces and others in an affordable price using the crowd. That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Who would like to start?
What's your business model / who's your customer? Who are you selling to?
Can you repeat the question?
Who are you selling to? Who's the customer?
Oh, the power of the platform is that we can sell in many directions to many customers. At the end of the day, every one of us is using the car and is going to park the car. So you're using your smartphone. This can be sold to any service provider. It can be sold to any telco that is using it in order to lock his customers in by using the application on his smartphone. Additionally, you're going to, I have more time, right?
Keep going.
Additionally, you basically, we are collecting data. This data can be sold afterwards to municipalities, to cities, to everyone that needs this data.
Cool.
Okay, thank you. So I guess, in addition to doing this kind of thing, can your solution be used for like city planning and things like that?
Yes, you can use it also for city planning because, as I said before, we are counting people on the sidewalks, for example. Okay, that's the part where it becomes very interesting when you want to design a city, when you look at how to improve a city. We are looking at billboards. We can identify billboards. We can identify advertisement on the billboard. So we can tell you basically where is the best place for you to put the billboard. If you're going to design a new crosswalk over the street, we can tell you where the people are passing. So, you know, everything that can be identified in a video or in a picture is something that we can give you as information.
Cool. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So they always say on stage, never work with children or animals, so I'll decide which you are later on, or do a live demo. So I think you might need to put on safety glasses or something here. I have no idea what's going on here. I would probably, if you're in the front row, move back a little bit. Okay, cool. So I'd like to introduce Lynette from Natural Machines.
Hello, everybody. My name is Lynette. I'm a co-founder of Natural Machines. So, what is this over here that my lovely assistant is setting up? The Washington Post calls it the one device that will change how we cook forever. Mashable says it's an ingenious gadget that will automatically upgrade your kitchen. This is Foodini, a 3D food printer plus an Internet of Things connected appliance. Now, what can you do with a 3D printer? Of course, you can print food in fun shapes. You can encourage kids and adults to eat healthier. My 2 young kids won't touch a spinach quiche, but you print it in the shape of dinosaurs, and those dinosaurs go extinct very quickly. Now, we also have a lot of professional kitchen users interested in 3D food printing for many reasons. One of them is because it allows them to do food presentations that are just not possible by hand. But what about you, the everyday home kitchen user? Why would you be interested in 3D food printing? Well, think about the last time you went to a supermarket. There's loads of processed, packaged, and pre-made foods. And when you take a look at those nutrition labels, a lot of questions. Processed ingredients, chemical-sounding ingredient names. And even with clean labels, what we don't know is how much of those ingredients we're actually eating. So typically, we eat way too many things like salt, oil, and sugar. Take a very simple example of crackers. Sometimes in a supermarket, there's an entire aisle dedicated to these things, right? They have 15, 20 ingredients on the most popular brands on the boxes, but why? I can print using a handful of ingredients, no preservatives, print fresh crackers and make it really clean and easy, and it's a really easy system. Or maybe you're sitting there thinking, you're a healthy eater, why should you care about 3D food printing? This is a typical lunch for me. I think I'm a pretty healthy eater as well. Now everything looks pretty good, including the whole wheat wrap, or is it? Let's take a closer look. There's how many additives in that whole wheat wrap? 9 of them. And they're classified into 3 different categories: preservatives, emulsifiers, stabilizers, gelling agents, thickeners, and the mysterious others category. Now, when you 3D print, you don't need any gelling agents with our system. It's fresh, real food. Now, maybe you're sitting there thinking, well, I'm never going to eat 3D printed food. But if you're eating anything from a food manufacturer, you practically already are. Because think about it. Food manufacturers take food, they push it through machines, they shape it, and they form it. We've taken that exact same concept, and we shrank it down to a design kitchen appliance. But the big difference is you control all the ingredients going into it because we ship with empty food capsules. We'll never force you to buy pre-filled food capsules. Now, of course, it's not just a 3D food printer, it's an Internet of Things appliance as well. Now, with connectivity and sensors and Internet of Things on the back end, you can do a ton of cool things, but I don't have a lot of time, so I'll give you 2 examples of what you can do. So let's say today you want a nice dessert of these nice almond cookies, but you only want it to be 200 calories. We can stop printing once we hit 200 calories, so you can do portion control. It's also about lessening food waste. Print what you want and nothing more. And then, of course, you don't have the temptation of a box of cookies sitting in your house. What about this 3D printed pizza? I printed the crust and the sauce. It's a whole wheat crust. Try finding that in a supermarket. But in the future, you'll also be able to do things like customized nutrition. Let's say I'm low on iron and vitamin K. I can actually print those nutrients into my food. So who are we? We've been doing this for over 3 years now, proving the concept of 3D printing with fresh, natural ingredients. We have over 7 patents with more to come. We're not just a one-machine company. Between my co-founder and I alone, we have over 40 years of experience. And I probably just gave away my age a little bit there. So that's not including the experience of the 20 employees we have with us. And we have interest from over 80 countries from both professional and home kitchen users. We've been recognized by the worldwide press as the leaders in 3D printing with fresh, real ingredients. And we've been awarded over 15 recognitions as being a top 3D printer, a top emerging startup, a food technology startup to watch, and an incredible food innovation that will change lives. So we believe in the future, 3D food printers will become a common kitchen appliance. It doesn't mean everything you eat in the future will be 3D printed, just like everything you eat now doesn't come out of an oven. But it will be a significant appliance to help you eat healthier. Because this is real food, 3D print it. Thank you.
Cool.
So, geek alert, I was a big Star Trek fan when I was growing up, and they had these replicators, so thank you for giving us an example of yet another invention coming true. One question, so is the selling point, I get the nutritional benefits and control, but you could argue I could do that anyway just by cooking at home as opposed to buying. Does it save you substantial amounts of time? And then the second part of the question is, how much does it cost, and how do you get mass adoption?
Well, it does save you significant time. It's not for everything. Everything shouldn't be 3D printed, but it does save you significant time for foods that require hand forming or shaping or even layering. So think about ravioli or even that cracker example. I don't need to flour my work surface and press out crackers. From a price point, we're going after the professional market first. So the initial price point will be between $1,500 and $2,000 US. From the professional market, that's a good price. It's the price of a high-end coffee maker, high-end food processor, but lower side of the price scale for a kitchen appliance. For mass adoption, we know we need one additional piece of functionality that's not in this device you see today, and that's the ability to cook. We're already developing that, and we're actually doing taste testing on that right now.
Cool. Any other questions?
He asked my question.
Cool.
No, great presentation, by the way.
Thank you.
Cool. Thank you very much.
3D printed logos.
Cheers. Thank you. And last up is going to be, if he speaks very slowly, Stefan from Schlock. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'm the last one, and I know you're all very tired, so this is going to be a little bit different. Our project aims to address identity, coordination, security, and privacy over billions of devices. And the way we're going to achieve this is by building autonomous objects, objects that can own themselves. Now, these objects may not look like much, but they underpin everything that defines our digital connected society today. And in order to do this, we use blockchain. Now, if you're not familiar with blockchain, it's a distributed database where live autonomous digital entities or smart contracts that can interact and transact with each other autonomously. And because these entities live on the blockchain, they inherit all of its properties. And I'm just going to pick two randomly. First one would be cryptographic security by default, as well as zero downtime. So these applications are applications that never go down, period. Imagine that. So what we're doing is we're creating a mapping between physical objects and those digital entities in this network, in the blockchain, effectively giving them an identity and the ability to run code. Let's take a practical example. Let's say Bob wants to rent a house, common example. What he would do is a smartphone actually would assess where in the blockchain is the contract for that lock, for the lock itself, and he's going to send money to the lock in order to rent it. Effectively, what we have is a contract between man and machine. It's the machine that decides whether the door will open or not, no one else. There are no third parties, no possibility of censorship. That door could be in North Korea, and the person renting it could be in this very room. Now, we believe that transacting with autonomous machine will soon become the new normal. And why wouldn't it be? Now, we saw there was a contract that could represent a door, but we are working with a company called Electron to provide the same model for utilities. So when you go and rent an Airbnb, you only pay for what you use and nothing more. We're also working with a SafeShare, a sharing insurance provider, in order to protect the object that's being rented only for the duration of the rental. Another partnership we're really proud of is RWE, which is an energy giant based in Germany. And together we're building an autonomous charging station where you only pay for what you use and there are no contracts whatsoever. And this charging station is fully autonomous, by the way. And why would you choose a solution that's decentralized over a centralized one? Well, in this case, RWE chose us because of simplified billing, transaction payment, one step done. Second, fraud-proof accounting, well above any transparency requirement for current regulation. Third, and this is important, doing away with a centralized server altogether. Put it in the bin, replace it by using only what you use and pay only what you use as part of this decentralized blockchain network. So it comes down to this. Your proof of your payment provider, your billing system, your partners, your accountancy, your finance, your system analytics, all synchronizing around this shared blockchain state. And it's about going from a monitor and adapt, which is a very inefficient model, to objects that autonomously function optimally. Now, our team is mostly from Ethereum, which is a project that was kickstarted, well, crowdfunded 2 years ago. It was at the time, the second largest crowdfunding project, about $19.3 million, and it's currently valued at $332 million. One last thing before we get to questions. We have a live demo working at MWC on Hall 3. You can come and visit us. It's a blockchain-enabled home automation service, which we think represents the future of the sharing economy, and it's developed in partnership with Samsung and Ubuntu Core. Thank you.
So I'm trying to understand, who's your target audience?
The target audience are corporates who want to get a step up on the blockchain and reduce their operational costs through automation, or innovative startups that don't want to lose their competitive advantage.
And are you scaling developer up? Are you providing the platform open to developers to build on top of it, or are you developing it for the corporates on their use cases? How are you going about it?
Right, both. So there is an open source, completely open source, wall-to-wall model for son and of product, including the one that you saw, as well as closed source proprietary solution for corporate developing maybe private blockchains, for example.
And you're charging them, the corporates, how much?
Well, that depends on the event. Now, we have one current client who pays around £20,000 for a proof of concept.
How are you differentiating your specific blockchain-enabled solution to transaction facilitation? Like, is there something you're adding beyond using blockchain? Or?
So you're going to have to repeat that because I'm already getting a lot of feedback.
I'm basically asking a question around differentiation. Obviously, like there's a bunch of companies trying to use the blockchain to facilitate trusted transactions, and was curious, where's your differentiation there?
Right. Yeah. So most companies that focus on the blockchain today do so for financial applications. And ours is really centered around the IoT and making smart contract enforceable in the real world. So you could, for example, use a car or a house as a collateral for a blockchain loan, for example, which at the moment you can't do.
Cool. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers. Thank you.
I would ask the panelists to sidle off and deliberate on the 10, I believe it is, 9 startups. You have 5 minutes, rather you than I. Cool. And I would like to now invite on to stage last year's winner of the IoT prize for exactly the same competition last year is Hafi from Hana.
Hi. So I'm the light relief whilst the judges go off to deliberate. So I'm Hafi Rahman from Hanha, and I'd like to talk to you about 1 year on, the journey 1 year on from last year. So in this blurry picture, you can see my co-founder and CEO, Azhar Hussain. We were trying very hard to raise money. As some of the panelists were saying, it was incredibly hard. We believed that after funding, that our kid would really do well. And it was proving a bit of a mountain to climb. And before Barca last year, potential investors told us that we were crazy. So what is our proposition? Where's my stuff? Parcel Live is an easy-to-use, low-cost parcel tracking solution. So in the UK alone, 17 million parcels over last Christmas were late, and 225,000 of those were lost. Our solution, as I said, is Parcel Live, a trackable anywhere tracking solution. Powered by embedded sensors and an embedded SIM, you can see it wherever it is in the world. And the parcel is made self-aware, and if the parcel is anywhere for too long, it's been dropped, opened, or suffering from heat or humidity, you get an alert. So our vision is to get to pain-free deliveries, and in the future, the tracking map will be replaced with a countdown clock. When there's a knock, the parcel arrives. So we finally gave birth in August last year when we raised 1 million euros in funding, and that's when the fun really began. And we realized that the mountain was in fact a molehill. We now have a team of 11, 6 in London, and each one of them has a great story of how belief and determination got them to where they are today. Here's Ricardo, a Colombian sitting in the front row, who first came to London about 6 years ago, speaking hardly any English. He worked 2 jobs, put himself through 2 degrees, and today he's our logistics coordinator. But it hasn't always been relative plain sailing. There's one instance that we went to see a major telco provider thinking that we were just about to tie up a significant funding deal, only to be told that internal compliance had changed the rules. Stuck in an airport on the way back for 6 hours, I thought it was game over. So we've had several near-death experiences and potential fails, which ultimately revealed an even greater opportunity. But on the flip side, the progress that we've been able to make in such a short space of time is been surreal. So as you know, this time last year, we were one of 8 IoT startups. We were the youngest by far. We were only 2 people then. We had a very basic website and a video that I, the finance guy, put together. And as you know, we won. And this provided a great endorsement and credibility to our non-techie angel investors. So thank you very much, 4 years from now. So 95 days after investment, we're able to produce our prototype product with Intel inside, produced on the same manufacturing line as the Raspberry Pi by Sony Technology in Wales. And we've signed a logistics agreement with Avato of the Bertelsmann Group. And as you can see here, we've got Avato and Intel on stage at a launch event in November announcing their collaboration with us. So I've got to mention the D word, disruption. So you're probably wondering, what's so disruptive about a bunch of chips and sensors? Giants such as FedEx and AT&T are already doing the measure your world piece, but you have to buy the device from them. You've got to arrange logistics. What is disruptive is that we're making it easier for you. You don't buy the device, you buy tracks. We sort out logistics, firmware, maintenance, and the server. That's on us. What is disruptive is the business model. Hardware as a service, a low device cost, which is a fraction of the price of our competitors, and a low track price that makes mass market feasible. And finally, what is disruptive is our agility, an ability to execute so quickly, establish key partnerships, and not have a corporate empire to navigate has actually taken us very far very quickly. So we're getting close to delivering our vision of pain-free deliveries. And as you can see from the great picking startups, 4 years from now is a great intersection of startups, corporates, and investors. So we're starting trials in March and currently fundraising for production volumes later this year. So if interested, please come and talk to us. We'd love to talk to you. Thank you.
So, you're not allowed to run away just yet. Why don't you come and take a seat? Because the startups have been so hard that they've taken a little bit longer to deliberate who the winner is. So, let's have a couple of minutes here. So, over the last 12 months, what's the thing that surprised you most?
It's our ability to actually get things done, and it's with the corporates that we've engaged to actually cut through the crap.
Yeah.
Because, as I mentioned, as a CFO, I used to work at Shell, incredibly bureaucratic organization where things happen by consensus. So I know how difficult it is to get corporates to engage. But the things that we've been able to get people to agree with, like potential collaborations with Intel and talking to Bertelsmann, it's just been amazing. There is a real thirst to get things done because people realize, they say, look, I've got competing propositions within our organization, but it's just quicker to engage with you.
So what if you had to give people in the audience tips or hints about how to get past corporate gatekeepers? What have you done that's made that happen?
Well, actually, it does go back to relationships. So you can probably tell I'm not in my early 20s, right? And my co-founder has got quite deep experience in sort of the tech, consumer electronics space, and telecoms, most importantly. And it's just that kind of grey hair and knowing who to talk to, and then you have that knock-on impact. So unfortunately, it is networks.
Okay.
Right.
And so what does the future look to you?
It is equally exciting and scary. Right? We are building up quite a huge tidal wave of potential demand, but we are in our proof of concept phase now. And everything hinges on a successful trial. And as the CFO process kind of guy, I'm waiting for the floodgates to open, as it were, that we've got the device stream and the customer and the logistics stream and everything. thing has got to deliver. We're basically betting black on 6 different tables simultaneously, and they've all got to come home.
Cool, excellent. I see people in the aisles that look like something's going to happen. Why don't you come over here a second? So I'd like to invite the, who's going to announce, make the announcement, who would like to come on stage with the rest of the panelists, please. Come on. You got to an answer? Did you flip a coin? Cool, come on guys. Cool, do you want to pick up a microphone? Don't you sit down. Cool, are you, who's announcing? Yeah, cool. Would you like to announce who the winner of the competition is?
First of all, we have to say that we saw really good startups and good projects, and it was hard for the judges to decide, given kind of like the different fields, different teams. So we deliberated. We actually had 2 projects that were runner-up, and we had to deliberate to decide on the winner. So we were debating between 2 projects. One of them is the Natural Machines, who is the innovative cooking machine. And the other is Stockit, which is the way to use blockchain for physical goods and enforcing physical contracts. After deliberation, we got to the conclusion that Stockit is the winner for the IoT competition.
Fantastic. Right, do you want to come in?
Champions League, huh?
Cool, and I would also like to invite all of the other finalists to come on stage for a last clap. Go up, come up. Congratulations, come on. Well done. Okay, come on.